Kia ora. My name is Leo. I'm a reporter at Radio New Zealand. It's really lovely to have Mijie and Betsy here. And Mijie, can you tell us why did you start this journey? Why such a documentary?
That's a really good question, and I will try to make it short for the audience here. I remember when we're young, when I was reading different magazines in China, I realized different magazines, presenting the same issue, same news, but they have different angles, and some will hide some details, some will have their own opinion. And from that now on, I realized I really don't want to fade it, by the media. I want to be a person, a document filmmaker or a media worker, and really work through into the reality and touch the reality by my hands and learn about the reality by my eyes. So that was a moment, I think it's like a little seed, made me start thinking about what will be a way for me to interact, to record the reality, and to know the truth about the world by myself.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and then later, but go ahead.
Sorry, I was wanting to say that then about this documentary, why you chose this topic then? Is it anything resonating with yourself?
Yeah, so that was a little story why I started about documentary. And then after I graduated from the university, I felt that, wait a moment, is this the education that my parents, my relatives, and the whole society are, putting their hearts into it? What is the value about the education that I received and I spending my over 20 years? And I was not satisfied. I feel like there was something more than what I received. I feel like there are a higher goal or something's missing in my education. I was not sure at that moment. So making documentary is a way for me to explore the things I cannot understand in my life. And it's the way for me to help myself to get deeper into something I confused. So I started a journey, and that's not like what I expected. I know I have this confusion, but in a journey in the Mongolia, I come across a family, and the parents told me that they also really unsatisfied with their education after they graduated from the top universities. That was my situation as well. Like I felt if I have a kid, I bring a new life to the world. I will not give the education I received to my kids, but what is that? I don't know. And then they told me, they are not really focused on the external achievement, not really thinking about their kids has to become a successful person, but instead they hope their kids can pay more attention to their inner world, to really understand their relationship with themselves and the relationship with the world. And that was my first attempt come across a parent that there's a different value system there. It's different from my parents and all my relatives give it to me, and I was attracted to that. And then when I did more research, I realized it's not just a group of parents. It's a big trend in China that people try to escape from the mainstream education and looking for something they're missing in their education. So along the way of making this documentary, I see a lot of parents are suffering. Like a lot of parents, they are looking for the internal connection with their families, but because they have this kind of already fixed pattern which you received when you were young, and also the whole society is that way, which is more about like focusing on your career and your external achievement. So you can see a lot of conflicts evolved. You have a way to not really just be just focus on the external achievement, and you want to be more spiritual, really like paying attention to the inner world, but somehow you're still stuck in a fixed way. So if we look at the film that Chao Yan, actually the way that she acted in the film, even though she, in a way that she felt, if reading Confucianism, it can bring the harmony to the family, but somehow we still don't really understand what it is. So the way that she tried to apply to life or try to carry on in her life is really just about achieving a goal, achieving again and again a new goal. So she always tried to changing other people. She always tried to like
impose her ideology onto others.
Yeah.
And
I think
doesn't
along making this film, I think for me is really like a healing process for myself that helped me to relook the relationship with my parents. Because when I just started this film, I was really I was not really understand education. I was not really understand family relationship. I have to say that my starting point is really low. Like at the beginning, I feel like if there's any mistake happened in my life, in my family, it's all my fault. Like I'm a kid, like I'm the child, it's all my fault. And then later I start to learn about how your parents will impose the conflicts or influential on your life and the way you act, and I start to become really aggressive towards my parents. And then the third phase where I'm entering making this film, also looking at myself, that was my first time in my life to admit that I love my parents so much. Before, I always feel like morality is something that just about pressure, just like why you give me this conception, like why I have to do this, do that to my parents. I don't really have that kind of internal emotion towards them, and now I always try to kind of keep a distance with my family, and I feel like that is my way, that is my career I want to go, and I don't want to become what you want me to become. And by through making this film right now, I feel like my family right now is like my vacation place. It's like I don't want to go any other places to have fun, but I just go back home, spend time with my parents. So it's really rewarding process. Yeah.
Wow. Right.
I mean, sorry, this is a long story, but I don't know how to make it short. Sorry to give you different segments.
And how about Betsy? How did you get involved in this this project?
So Mijie started her quest probably a couple years before I came into the picture. She was asking these questions, and I met her in Guangzhou, actually, in the city she's in right now. And neither of us are from, but I was working at a different job and was at the film festival, and she was there and showing her film around, and she was looking for a producer. And I remember when I saw her material, I really responded to it because I could just see that all the pieces were there. Like we already could see Tsai Yan transform. So just kind of she's such a remarkable character in that her thoughts are, she wears her heart on her sleeve and she's very open, but Tsai Yan is really smart, and she's always challenging herself the way we all should be. I just, even though I only saw maybe 30 minutes of material at a time, I just saw a complete film was in there. So and then I hopped on board, and that was almost 3-4 years ago, I think.
Right. Yeah, 2016. December 2016.
Right. And also I know Betsy might have a slightly different experience of Confucianism because you were born in the United States, right? So what is your understanding of Confucianism, and what have you learned, that things that you didn't know before after you have participated in this project?
That's a good question, actually. So it's funny when so yes, I'm from the States, and I think when I was trying to describe Confucianism to people not familiar with China, the best comparison I could find would be something like religious charter schools. And I guess I think what is difficult for a lot of the West to understand is how secular Chinese society was, and how even though there are like many like basic tenets of Confucianism that the world is familiar with, Chinese Americans and Chinese people in China probably don't know the full picture of it because it's been out of practice for like a century. So in a way, like the Confucianism that Chao Yan knows, her understanding might not be that much more mature than mine. So it's kind of interesting to see a really ancient wisdom kind of come back after a long hiatus. So, and I think that's like some interesting context I don't think necessarily comes up right away or is that obvious. But
yeah, right. And back to the documentary again. So as Mijie, is it hard? What is the challenge here for you to find a perfect family for you to film, to do the documentary?
I think in terms of casting, I always follow my instinct. Like when I was doing Confucian Dream, I actually reached out over 500 families. Like at the beginning, I text them. I mean, of course, I have to actually get all the contact information from the schools. So at the beginning, I contacted like I forgot, it's 12 or 15 schools, but finally I gathered over 500 family contacts and sent them the message to introduce who I am and where I come from, why I'm making this film. And there are some families decide to, receive the phone interview. So in the phone call, I will feel like their energy, like feel what is the story there and what is the layer in their family. So finally, there are 6 families enter the second interview. And for that moment, I will not just interview one family member from one family. I will interview everyone in that family to feel like what is the whole picture in that family. So when I was looking for a subject for Confucian Dream, I set up some like criteria. Like for example, I want to have 3 generations under one rooftop, and this way you can see the difference between different generations. And also I was looking for a person like just started this journey. So Chao Yan, when I was talking with her, and I know she was about to send their kids to the summer school and then had a goal to send their kids study full time. So I see like she has a goal to achieve. And when I was talking with her, she said actually before I had a call with her, she kind of already have a potential conflicts and even had an argument with her, husband. So that was the time I also talked with her husband, and I see those 2 people, they are quite open even in the phone call. So I feel like this is this is the family I want to meet. So yeah, that was the kind of process I came across. Yeah.
Right. And obviously, what is the difference between Chao Yan's learning of Confucianism and little Chen Chen's learning of Confucianism according to your observation there? How do they take it on differently?
I mean, Chao Yan really have a goal there. So in her mind, like everybody came together learning something great, which is Confucian Dream, and share the same value system. And then the whole family will become harmonious. But for Chen Chen, he doesn't have a goal. What he enjoying is spending time with his mother. And that's the only way he sees it. So he like, being with his mother. So there's not really a deep meaning or I mean, at least at that moment, there's no deep meaning into his life to understand what does Confucianism mean and what does Confucianism can help him. Yeah.
Mm. And also, we've got a question here from our audience. Someone asked, how long did it take to go through all the contacts with the families before finding Chaoyan? How long did it take you? You said you've had over 500 families that you have contacted.
So if I'm talking about the whole process, like actually I started to do this research because at the beginning when I was interested in this this trend or this phenomena in China, that was like 2013. So how can I get all those contacts? So I was just I just looking at the schools online and just pull up the school's contacts and call the headmaster and say, hey, who I am, and then could I visit you? So that was the summer before I go to New York to study documentary filmmaking. I visit them, make friends with them. So for my first year of the grad school there, I just keep contacting them, talk with them, and make contacts. And then, when they got familiar with me and trust me and know this is the thing that they want to work with me together, and that already like after a year, and that was the time I got back to China, and they shared their school, like the family's contacts with me. Some of the school decide just put the flyers in, by the door so the parents can see. Some school will just give me the WeChat group access so I can post my information into the group, and some group will just hand me over the Excel sheet and say, this is all the contact info and you can text them. So
it's a very, very long time.
Yeah, it's like a building trust with the headmaster and then get a contact from the family members, and then so long journey.
Right. And about the ending of the film, I see that Chaoyan has changed her attitude, and she was almost lamenting about how she has understood things wrongly, perhaps. And then she started a whole new journey of becoming a teacher. And then the ending, the family got a new baby. So has the family solved the crisis? Have they found a way out? Can you tell us a little bit more?
That's a really good question. So there's one thing I want to be honest is, even the changes, right? Also, you guys can see the expression on her face changed, and the way she react to the kids and the family changed. Change then, because the class that I filmed she participating in, it's not really the class that can really heal her wound. Last filming was 2018, and after filming I still, we still keep contacts. She still share her sorrow, anger, uncomfortable moments with me. So I was really I compliment her and I be with her, but also in the past 2 years I also felt that I cannot really help her, pull her out from that kind of a present, like she's still in the same pattern and go again and again, like until this year. And also it's my own like spiritual growth. Like I feel before I was not in, like I don't have enough growth to help her, and until this year, and she joined the class with me together. And in the class, that was the moment. surprised me, and that was the moment I felt relieved, because before I always felt, okay, she is so open to me, and she gave me a so great story, and she gave me a process of growing and learning, but how can I help her? So it's always have a I always feel like I didn't do enough, or I didn't help her. So I would always have that kind of sadness inside of me, until this year we were together in a class. And that's really a class that I see that deep inside of her, there's one part of her darkness got seen by the teacher. And then she has a reborn moment that after the class she got back, she really felt the unconditional love. I have to say, because in the class, that was her first attempt to experience her unconditional love in her life. So after she got back home, she knows what is the taste of love. What does love mean to the family? Like before, she always felt like love is about changing other people to the same way we and then we can connect. And she never really experienced like what does embrace difference with your unconditional love.
What class was that? Sorry, what class was that you were attending today?
So it's a Taoism class.
Right. Okay.
But yeah. I also see the question that there's a audience asked about my next film. Maybe I can share a little bit more. It's related to the question you said, what is that class? So I don't know what is your feeling or what is the audience feeling, but I felt, when we see ourselves, when we see our flaws, or when we see the people that we don't like, we normally like to push it away, say, oh, I don't like to work with you, I don't want to live with you, I have so many other choices, and I just walk away. And when I see my own shortcomings, I will try my best to change it or to hide it, and always try to be the professional, the perfect way to the outside world. And that's what we always do. And then my next film is about the relationship that I want to explore about the relationship between human and the dog. I think like between people, like why we need dog, like why we need companionship, and why we have to wear the armor and a mask when we interact with others, why we try to be the best, because in a way that we are lacking of ability to to accept or to embrace the darkness of ourselves. But the dog, in some moment or for some other people's life, they can bring that kind of unconditional love to human being. I still remember the story I read before, that there's a kid, like he didn't have a good childhood. He abandoned by his parents, so he has a tough life, and he did drugs, and he's a robber, and he did so many bad things, and he was about to kill himself because he felt he's a trash in this world. And like he's like, when we look at him, he's so imperfect, but finally he's saved by a dog, because the dog gives him that kind of unconditional love and gives him that kind of awakening moments. So I want to say, like, everybody actually has a beautiful soul, but that beautiful soul has to be called, or has to be
Awaken.
awakened by unconditional love.
Wow.
So when I was looking at Chao Yan, like when she was trying to change other people and or try to like have the violence on other people, like on her family, is really the moments that she tried to hide her shortcomings and try to hide the part that she cannot really face to. So she like imposed those uncomfortableness to her kids and her husband until that darkness has to be like lighted by unconditional love, and there's a release. So the class that I filmed, which everybody can see in the film, that is not really about unconditional love. It's about like compress your ego. Like it's your fault. You're wrong, and you have to, like really say you are wrong. So that kind of energy can just last for like a month or few months, and then after a few months she will go back to the original Chao Yan, and you can see she got into that kind of like criticism and changing mode again. And the class that you was asking also for me, like why my parents is not like my enemy anymore, and why my family become my vacation place. It's also because like the wood, like my darkness, like my anxiety has been lighted by the unconditional love. So I know how to love people right now, even though I cannot really connect with my soul every moment, but I will start to have more and more moments of like flowing my love to others. Like before, I cannot.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I guess this documentary sounds more like a film on love rather than traditional Chinese culture. Then, well, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. I actually got more questions, but we are running out of time.